Born in Dublin in 1948, Eddie Jordan emerged as a major figure in Irish motorsport during the 1970s. His move into team management came in 1979. After steady progress, Jordan Formula One was formed in 1991. The team achieved a highly credible fifth place finish in that year's Constructors' Championship.
Into the bus stop chicane for the final time. He just has to make a clean exit and back out on to the grid markings. And here he comes now. The checkered flag falls for the Jordan team.
Damon Hill led home a Jordan 1-2 ahead of Ralph Schumacher at the Belgian Grand Prix in 1998.
Our two Jordan cars kept Irish eyes smiling.
The following year, Heinz Harald Frentzen won twice as Jordan secured a top three finish in the Constructors' Championship. Partnership, personnel and sponsorship difficulties ultimately led to a decline in the team's fortunes. Jordan Formula One was sold in 2005. A move into broadcasting followed. Jordan also turned his entrepreneurial talents to numerous business ventures. Always a colourful and engaging character, former world champions Michael Schumacher, Ayrton Senna, Nigel Mansell and Damon Hill are among those to have driven an Eddie Jordan car.
Eddie Jordan was described today as a giant of motorsport who left an incredible mark on Formula One. He was also remembered as an astute businessman and a fearsome competitor.
He was the charismatic deal maker, an underdog who dreamt big. In a sport dominated by big names and even bigger budgets, Eddie Jordan cut through. The disruptor, schooled in Sink Street in Dublin, taking his place on the world stage.
I am not there to make up the numbers. Now that may not sound very sporting, but that's the way I am. I want to win. I want to see that tricolour there. You know, I'm very passionate about that, and it's why I went into it.
After launching, his Jordan team began to make an impact. As leader, he had an eye for spotting young talent from the sport. Today, many tributes have been paid, summed up by the driver who delivered Jordan's first Grand Prix victory.
Eddie Jordan, at last, after all his efforts.
He was irreverent, he was crazy, and there isn't a single person in that era and since really has not been affected positively in some way by Eddie. He gave a huge amount to charity. He never stopped. He never wasted a single second of his life, and he energised everyone he was near.
And in the spot where it all began, Mondello Park, his cars today taking pride of place.
Our reaction here at Mondello Park is sadness initially, but then great memories and big involvement in Mondello Park in the 1970s and forward. He hustled his way all the way from grassroots motorsport to the very pinnacle of the sport in Formula One, and he'll be very sadly missed by all Irish motorsport fans.
Eddie Jordan was diagnosed with bladder and prostate cancer last year. Today, his family said EJ brought an abundance of charisma, energy and Irish charm everywhere he went. We all have a huge hole missing without his presence. A trailblazer both on and off the track.
Staying with that sad news of the death of Eddie Jordan, we're joined from London by his friend, the former Grand Prix driver David Kennedy. Good evening, David. Thanks for joining us on 6-1. And first of all, sympathies on the loss of your friend, because you and Eddie Jordan went back quite a long way.
Yeah, I talked with Mary and the four kids, obviously in Cape Town. Terribly sad time for them. Indeed, I knew Eddie before he started racing. That's how far it goes back. He was working as a bank teller in Clanbrassil Street. And I used to lodge the money in there, and I was racing Formula Ford at the time. And he used to ask me, how do I go motor racing? And he would actually get the queue to go all the way outside the bank while he drilled me for questions. So, it was 20 years in the making from when he started to actually get to Formula One. So he had a huge pedigree, great knowledge, and he started a whole motorsport industry, not just in Formula One, but across the broader scheme of things. When you look at Ryanair being the aviation backdrop for Irish aviation, Eddie Jordan did the same thing for the world of motorsport in Ireland.
Now, his success story, as you say, in getting to Formula One from that start, it's a very unlikely tale.
It's quite remarkable, really, when you consider that in today's money, it's €1 million a day to run a Formula One team, and that's a pretty high bar. And it would be the equivalent in '91 when he started. And to put that funding together was really quite remarkable. And over the period of the 20 years on his way up to Formula One, he put together a great team of Irish people that were able to put the sponsorship, the engineering, the mechanic, the running of the operation together. He had Gary Anderson, of course, the famous designer. He had Mark Gallagher across finance. He had John Hines raising some money for him. He had Dermot O'Rourke on the legal side of it. So there was a huge amount of individuals, Irish individuals, that he put together to make this amazing team, and a team that actually took the battle to Ferrari and Mercedes. And when you consider where he came from, it was same village as I came from, Dundrum, and myself and Eddie Jordan and Derek Daly made it to Formula One, which was the most unlikely happening when you consider people often said it was because we lived near the Dundrum Mental Asylum. Now, I'm not sure whether there was something in the water or not, but it was a mad dream at the time and quite remarkable what Eddie did to achieve what he achieved.
And lots of people today, David, talking about his character, they use words like charisma, colourful, larger than life, and he really stood out from the other team owners, didn't he?
Yeah, well, when you consider the other team owners were very straight, sort of narrow-minded individuals. I'll give you an example. I remember at one particular Grand Prix, we were in Brazil, and you had the Ferrari motorhome and you had the Mercedes and the Renault motorhomes. All the press and all the media would work their way down to Eddie Jordan's motorhome. And it would be the humblest of motorhomes. But that's where the crack was. That's where the celebrities were. That's where things were happening, from Johnny Rotten to George Harrison. It was a wall-to-wall of interesting characters. And Eddie led that. In a way, he was a bit like a Pied Piper. And sometimes he went off the cliff, but he was there again the next day to make it all happen.
And his examples shows, I suppose, follow your dream because you never know where it's going to lead you.
Well, that's what it was. I mean, it was really nearly outlandish. And I remember a personal anecdote. In my family, when I declared that I wanted to go motor racing, my elder brother says, it's maybe not a doctor he needs to see. Maybe it's something more serious. So if you remember in the 70s, it was a different world. It wasn't the land of plenty that we have now. It was a war on in the Middle East. There was a fuel crisis. There was a 3-day week. So it was kind of a bonkers ambition. But for Eddie, incredible what he did to survive from 1991 to 2005. And those wins, those Formula One wins, were like winning a gold medal in the Olympics. That's how difficult it was. It was really an extraordinary performance.
OK, well, thank you for sharing your memories and helping to remember Eddie Jordan's legacy. David Kennedy, thanks for joining us on 6-1.